We just put his name as a kind of a copy. It's all hangs on the.
Here we go, right here.
Good morning. The Harnett County NAACP, State NAACP, joined forces with the local attorney, Jesse Jones. Jesse has brought 12 disturbing cases to our attention in the local NAACP to uncover the corruption of the Harnett County Sheriff Department and the judicial system of the murder cases that Mandy Locke has been investigating. Now, at this time, I'm going to turn this over to our state president, Dr. Reverend William Barber. Let's make him feel welcome. And what do we want?
Justice!
And when we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
I'm deliberately, members of the media, just taking a little time. I've been dealing with and thinking through these matters with Ms. Carolyn McDougall, who's not only a local president, but a state vice president. And I'm here with Jimmy Buxton, who is the district director for this area, also the president of the Fayetteville branch of the NAACP, and also Al McShirley, who is our statewide, one of our statewide attorneys, and some years ago was awarded the top NAACP civil rights lawyer in the country. And we're here most of all today with the Griggs, Buffet, and Livingston family, and I want the media right off the bat to understand the NAACP is not a black organization.
That's right.
Amen.
Or a white organization. We are a civil rights organization.
Yes, sir.
We're a civil rights organization. And for more than 100 years, we have addressed the issue of judicial and police malpractice. And so we stand with the Livingston family, we stand with the Griggs family, and we stand with the Bethea family, and we stand with others that may have been impacted by what's going on here. Today, we are announcing that we have already forwarded to Attorney General Loretta Lynch. Attention, Ms. Vanita Gupta, head of the Civil Rights Division. This, the North Carolina NAACP and the Harnett County NAACP branch versus the Harnett County Sheriff's Department. And I want to read this, because these are very serious matters. It's no laughing matter. In fact, in some ways, they're tearful matters.
Yes.
So we're not talking about somebody just being pulled over for a traffic ticket. We're talking about life, and we're talking about death. Dear Attorney General Loretta Lynch and Deputy Attorney General Vanita Gupta, this written complaint, based on the recent referenced News and Observer 4-part series by reporter Mandy Locke, comes to you with a request for a comprehensive Ferguson-like investigation of the Harnett County Sheriff Department that was featured in the series of the News and Observer. Now, the reason we put that in there for all the reporters is the law actually says, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 actually says that you can call for an investigation based on news media reports of discrimination and violation of federal law. We request that the Locke series be referred to Title VI and the criminal sections of the Civil Rights Division. and we have enclosed those articles. Mrs. Locke analyzed a dozen disturbing cases that occurred over the past few years. This means the problem is systemic. Some victims of misconduct under the color of law are black.
That's right.
Some are white.
That's right.
Some are Native American.
Yes.
And some are Latino.
Yes.
But all were from poor families. The NAACP believes the deeply entrenched system of racism and classism that historically prevailed in Harnett and similarly rural North Carolina counties, particularly after they suffered great economic upheaval in 2008 recession and were stripped of adequate federal representation by the race-based redistricting schemes found to be unconstitutional but not yet remedied by a 3-judge U.S. District Court, needs an all-sided investigation and effective structural remedies by your department, just as you did in Ferguson.
That's right.
Now, I've been to Ferguson, and we share this with it. And I saw firsthand when I went to Ferguson and worked with communities there, how a corrupt municipal and county system, which was first brought to the nation's attention after the tragic shooting of a young black man, turned out to be part of a larger system of corrupt injustice that had created a river of distrust in the jurisdiction as wide as the nearby Mississippi River.
That's right.
And the river of distrust in this county is as wide as the Cape Fear River.
Yes.
Fear and distrust between the diverse residents of Harnett and its powerful law enforcement agency, the sheriff's office, is wide and deep, and you can see that by the diversity here. Black, white, Latino, Native American, all poor. And let me say this away from the letter, and then I'm gonna go back to it. A gun and a badge, investigatory powers, the ability to serve warrants and take family members out of their homes, and the ability to be protected by the DA is too much power for a racist, a bigot, and somebody that looks down on people because they're poor. The dozen cases Ms. Locke describes in deadly force were greatly disturbing to all of us. But the NAACP, like Ms. Locke, is more troubled, and we trust you will be, by the haunting question Ms. Locke and her editors asked in their subline. A warrantless entry, an innocent man shot dead. A squad of deputies who spread fear south of the Cape Fear River. A homicide in jail caught on tape, yet somehow kept under wraps. Here is the question that must be investigated, and we're calling on the Attorney General to do it. Who polices the sheriff's office?
That's right. That's right. That's what we want to know.
We herewith ask this same haunting question and call on your experts to come in and do a Ferguson-like investigation.
That's right.
The NAACP and our Harnett branch and a handful of courageous lawyers who have helped Ms. Locke and have taken some of the cases for budget rates are up against a deeply entrenched structure. This is not just an incident here and an incident there. This is a deeply entrenched structure that has shown little respect for the constitutional right of poor and working families in Harnett County.
Yes.
Now, families of color probably get the worst of it, but poor white families
That's right.
are clearly targeted
Yes.
also by the squad of deputies which Ms. Locke identifies in detail. It does not help to blame white people for racist law enforcement. It's not white people. It's this racist law enforcement when it is corrupt system
Yes.
and the turning of heads by people who are supposed to enforce the Constitution that are the root causes.
That's right.
Who has been turning their head in Harnett County? Who has known about this? Who has had the power to challenge it? Who is policing the sheriff? That's the question, as Ms. Locke has asked over and over again. Punishment is summarily meted out in people's homes. That's not the American way. You're always innocent until proven guilty.
That's right.
Punishment is meted out in the jail. Punishment is meted out sometime in the court, where no qualified lawyers are willing to challenge the culture of corruptness that seems to be in control. The death of the emotionally disturbed black man in a cell after a deputy and his peers appears to have herded the young man into the cell with the aim of tasering him is particularly troubling. It was not until recently that Taser International, the manufacturer of the high profitable weapon, admitted that shots to the chest, as shown in the video, are often lethal. I want to note finally with thanks that a federal prosecutor and Department of Justice investigators are looking into 2 of the 3 cases Ms. Locke highlighted. The NAACP is always pleased when the family of a victim injured or killed by an out-of-control officer or group of officers gets some resolution. But the NAACP has had one driving purpose since we were founded 107 years ago: to eliminate racial discrimination and to dismantle racism and discrimination of any form. Dealing with police brutality cases one at a time will bankrupt the county.
That's right.
Trying to deal with it one at a time will increase distrust.
That's right.
Dealing with them one at a time will merely put Band-Aids on cancer. What caused the jurisdiction's autoimmune system to fail? Probably causing the cancer of corruptness in the first place. These are the questions we must ask. We're dealing with a systemic problem here. How can we revitalize the autoimmune system that apparently broke down? There is a problem here.
Yes.
And we need the Justice Department to come in and not investigate one case at a time, but the entire system. We need a comprehensive diagnosis. For example, does North Carolina's 3 qualifications for the most powerful position in most rural counties, in mind for that media, the sheriff in these rural counties particularly, and the DAs are the most powerful people in a county.
Yes.
They are the only people that can issue one piece of paper and send a sheriff and send out their deputies or him or herself and come to your door and take your family members out without a struggle. The question is the way in which we say sheriffs are qualified, for instance, have anything to do with the structural problems of an office? You know, to be a sheriff with all this power that can affect the family like the Bethea family and the Livingston family and the Griggs family, all you have to do is be 21 years old and live in the county for a year before the election and not be a lawyer. That's all. It's just 21 years old, live in the county for a year before the election and not be a lawyer. That's North Carolina General Statute 162-2. That's all. That's all. And with that, you have all this power, gun power, warrant serving power, arresting power, taser power, investigating power,
Yes.
covering up power.
Yes.
that again.
We need federal help in Harnett County.
Yes.
And so please let us know how we can help with your investigation. And we want you to know that we CC'd Attorney Jesse Jones, who's been on the front lines as an attorney. And we celebrate him. We wrap our arms around him. We will protect him. And we need a call in because he can't do it alone.
That's right.
And one case at a time.
Yes.
It's urgent.
Wait a minute. Is not enough. Is it just an extra speaker? Because I think I'm the speaker. I don't know. All right. So you have to have. I don't mean no harm, but we have to hold this. We're gonna do this in order.
Right.
Now, because this is one purpose here this morning, we are calling in for a full. And I want to say this again. Ferguson-like investigation. Now, you know, in Ferguson, they ended up covering up the real issue of Michael Brown death because it never went to trial. So we don't really know what happened. It went to, but the Department of Justice came in, and when they came in and issued their report, they clearly stated that Ferguson had a systemic problem of racism, classism, and discrimination. And that's what we have here in this county. Now, let me take any questions that we may have at this time. Al, would you come? I want at least one family member to come right here beside me of each family.
Come on.
I need one mother, aunt,
Livingston.
right here, because I want the picture to be clear.
Okay. Livingston.
And say who you're representing.
My name is Dolly Griggs, and I'm representing Christian Griggs.
Christian Griggs.
Yes.
All right. That's right there.
Yes.
And tell him how old he was.
He was 23 years old when he was murdered by his father-in-law, shot 6 times, 4 times in the back, while he was lying face down. And nothing happened to Pat Chisenhall for murdering my son.
And he was a veteran.
He was a veteran, and the sheriff department collaborated with the family to cover up the murder by going to the extreme of changing the crime scene from what the original crime scene was.
The thing?
My name is Makiba Corbin. And I'm
Speak in the mic. Can't hear you.
My name
We'll
is
take care. We got it.
I hear you.
My name is Makiba Corbin, and I'm representing Brandon Bethea. My cousin was tased in a cell by a black officer. They left him there for 25 minutes.
That's all right. That's all right.
That's all right. That's all right.
He was left there 25 minutes without any CPR or anything. He had no handcuffs in his hands. He had shackles on his feet. Like I said, they tased him dead in the chest and left him there. I just can't.
That's fine. That's enough. And because I want people to understand, in the NAACP, it doesn't matter if you're black or you're white. We stand against police brutality. We stand against systemic injustice. It doesn't matter. If we believe and a family comes to us and it's been an issue and they've asked for us to get involved, we don't just come get involved. Whenever you see us here, the family has made a request.
Yes.
It's not, we don't chase ambulances.
That's right.
We don't do that. And so I want that to be clear, and then I want this who's Representative Livingston, come here right here.
Hello, I'm Carmen Saylor. I'm representing John Livingston. John Livingston was my brother-in-law. He was 33 years old. Officer Cahagas had the wrong man, the wrong house, wrong everything, and Harnett County hasn't done anything.
Thanks. So what connects all of these families is what we believe is a systemic problem of sheriff, police, and judicial malpractice, and being out of control.
That's right.
And while they have case by case, we need this federal, full Ferguson-like investigation of Harnett County. And let me say to all of you one more time around here, that is why it is important. You know, when you critique a problem, and I say to this to citizens of Harnett County, that's why we don't say white people
That's right.
did it. There's racism here, there's classism here,
Yes.
there's police and judicial and law enforcement corruption here.
Yes.
And there comes a time that we join together. And I say this especially to the media because sometimes we forget that the civil rights movement was fought by black and white people.
Yes, sir.
And Latino people.
Yes, sir.
Huh? Yeah. There were some black people in the civil rights movement that weren't for Dr. King. That didn't stand. And there were some white people that were. What connects them, these families, is the pain and the tears that has been caused by the systemic problems and what we believe is a deep-seated corruption here in this county that has to have this full federal investigation. Let me take your question.
Do you have any message specifically for the Latino community who might be hesitant to come
Come forward. We have right here, I'm glad you asked that, this young lady right here is North Carolina NAACP is one, if not the only state conference that has a Latino liaison representative on our state executive committee. She is the vice president of the Harnett County branch of the NAACP. She works in tandem with Ms. McDougal, and we need to come forward. That's one of the reasons why we want a full federal investigation, because when the feds come in, they will hold hearings, they will go into every community, they will give people the courage to come forward and to share the things that they have experienced. Because when you remember, whenever you have corruptness in your sheriff's department or police departments or DA's office, it creates a level of fear.
That's right.
Creates a level of fear by people who are impacted, by people who are victims, and sometimes by people who are in the system who know better, but they're too afraid on their own to come forward.
That's right.
The federal coming in allows space and room for that to happen. And so we say to our brothers and sisters in the Latino community, anybody, to come forward. Police brutality, questions about murders and arrests and killings at the hand of police is just wrong. We are not anti-police because you need police.
That's right.
But what we are is anti-police abuse, police brutality.
Yes.
And when you have a squad, somebody knew they were operating.
Yeah.
Somebody's known they were operating.
Yes.
And the only way you can have trust is you must have transparency. And the only way you can have trust is you must make sure that the bad apples
That's right.
are not able to use the system as a cover-up for injustice and violence.
That's right.
You have, how many veterans we have out here? I want you to raise your hands. You all these veterans. These veterans didn't go fight in other countries to then come back here and see a police system or sheriff's department operate in a way that's unconstitutional. So let's get it clear. We're not against, sometimes people say, well, you're against police. No, you're not against police when you speak out against rogue police and corrupt systems. You're actually for police because you want the police and the sheriff departments to work right and not work wrong.
That's right.
Any other? So that accountability. And again, we're talking about life and death here. Any other questions? If there are none, I want to ask you to talk more than to me, but to these families. I come so they can have that's the real picture. Talk to these families, these three families, if they so choose. Interview them, hear their stories, and join us, join us in doing stories like Miss Locke. Continue to put some investigative reporters down here. And I don't know who that, I can't open my press conference up unless it was predetermined. So come here a second. I'm always going to be gracious, so come here a second. Come over here.
So let me remind the media, if you haven't given Tyler, can you raise your hand? If you haven't given Tyler your email, he's going to email you a copy of the thing Reverend Barber just read, and plus it has Those of you who have not read the 4-part series, there's a link to that in the complaint that we just filed.
Let me say this while this young lady came, and thank you so much. And this is what we're talking about, how we work together, and thank you so much. What's your name again? Elizabeth. That the point, and this is all in our story and in our complaint. That's what I wanted to assure her of. That, as you know, the sheriff has resigned. Is that right? No, right. And they've appointed. The concern here in this community that the person appointed was the supervisor of the very squad that's been causing all the problems. And that's in the story. That's in the story. That's in the lock. That's in the story. That's in what we've turned over to the Justice Department. And that's the kind of thing that we're saying has to be investigated. You can't cover this up by somebody walking away from it, resigning, and then everybody say, "Oh, it's fixed now. We just reappoint somebody." There must be a thorough uncover, turning over of every rock, so we understand all the connection and we break up this system of corruption that's here in Harnett County.
That's right.
Any other questions? Thank you so much, my sister. Thank you so much. Media, please talk to these families and Sister McDougal, those folk who are here on the ground, and we're going to move forward. What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
Thank you so much.